I kind of feel like I'm doing a series on student loan debts. And it's funny because this is, what is this, summer 2022. At the end of this month, August 2022, at the end of this month, the student loan moratorium is basically supposed to end. And at that point, all of the people who've had student loans that have not been paying on those student loans or have only been paying possibly the interest and not the principal, or even both, they're going to be facing a full student loan payment. And because the average person owes about $37,000 to $40,000 worth of student loans, the average payment per month is expected to be somewhere between $350 and $400. But here's an interesting story that comes from Insider. Meet a doctor with $895,000 in student loan debt whose balance has surged on an income-based repayment plan. It's just wildly out of control now. So for those of you who've been paying attention, I've done a couple of videos about this. The Biden administration thinks that they can forgive, I don't even want to use that word because they want to forgive $10,000 worth of student loan debt, but the average person holds $40,000 worth of student loan debt. Obviously, $10,000 is not going to make a big difference. And I've ranted about this enough, but let me just help you understand. The reason why the average person is about $40,000 in student loan debt is because if they went to a school that was in another state and had a dormitory, not only did they pay tuition, but they also paid a dorm fee. Within one semester, it's very easy to spend about $10,000 to $15,000 under those circumstances, because you also have to figure out you're going to need a meal plan. A meal plan is probably between $2,500 and $5,000 in a year. So if you go to school for even 1 year, 2 semesters plus a summer semester, it's very easy to run up $40,000. When I was looking to get my second master's, I had a choice. I could either go to a private school, specifically St. John's University, or I could have gone to Hofstra University, another private school, or I could go to CUNY, Queens, CUNY Baruch, or any of the CUNY schools. That's called City University of New York, CUNY. There's also SUNY, which means State University of New York. Because I'm a New York City resident, either one of those schools would have saved me a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, to get the degree, it cost, to get the degree with, 36 credits at $450 a credit, it cost me about $18,000 out of pocket, no loans, to go to the CUNY school and get this master's degree. But if I had gone to the Hofstra or if I had gone to the St. John's program, I would have ended up paying between $40,000 and possibly even $50,000. The only reason why people do this, they go to these big name schools, is because of name recognition. And, basically it's badge whoring, but we'll just be nice and we'll call it name recognition. So some people think, oh yeah, well, if I go to this big name school, then everybody will know, oh yeah, I'm top shit. I graduated out of a big name school. But here's the thing. When you are doing the type of job that I'm doing, you can still easily make your 6-figure salary, and you don't have to really network with anybody. Now, I have networked with people. I've met a lot of people, high-value men, high-value women. But the reality is I didn't need a big name school to do that, and that's just the reality. Now, if you go to one of these big name schools, chances are anybody who went to a big name school, unless they got a full ride scholarship, chances are they are fucking neck deep in student loans. And that's the reality. All of these, Fordham, Hofstra, St. John's, there's just so many of them, I can't even name them all. But that's just the reality. Now, in this story, this woman is a doctor. Kathleen LaRose has $895,000 in student loan debt. She's been struggling to pay off under income-driven plans. The income-driven plan is the Republican retort to the Biden idea that we're just going to cancel $10,000, because ultimately the Republicans do not want to spend. I think they understand that just spending this money is only going to put inflation on us even more down the road. The problem, and I saw this coming years ago, the problem is that you've got an entire generation of millennials and an upcoming Generation Z who is so deep in student loan debt that it's locked up their finances to the point where they can't buy anything. They can't buy a car, they can't buy a house. But I ranted about that in the last video, so I'm not going to do that again. It says interest caused her debt to surge while she deferred her loans during her doctoral and residency program. And that's a big problem. Interest on the loans, there are what we call career students, and what they try to do is they try to stay in school for all of their life, because as long as they stay in school, their loans are deferred and they don't have to start paying on them. I have no idea how the Congress or how the banks allowed this to happen, where you could go this long without paying on your loans, but they did. And because they did, they've created a situation where people have built up enough of a principal where the recurring interest payments or the demands on the interest payments basically make the debt unpayable. But you know what's funny? If you look at the country itself is basically in the exact same problem. We have ran up so much debt, over $30 trillion in principal, that the interest is virtually unpayable if the interest rate is anything higher than like a 2 or 3%, which is the reason why the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates, but they can't raise interest rates to the point that would actually allow them to fight inflation, because if they raise interest rates too much, they wouldn't be able to pay the national debt. America would default to its creditors, and that would be a big problem. She said she qualified for forgiveness 3 years ago, but her payoff date is not until next year. Now, this is another issue. COVID threw this entire system off. Had it not been for COVID, and me personally, I don't want to even complain about COVID, because the thing about it is, under the COVID quarantine, we'll say between, let's say, okay, fine, COVID quarantine pretty much started March 2020. But I would really say I knew about COVID back in November 2019, because I pay attention to Chinese news. So even if I want to say 2020 till now, 2022, in that 2 years, I can't personally complain about COVID, because during that 2 years, I made more money year over year than each year prior. And a lot of people lost a lot of money, but as you know, there was what was called the K-shaped recovery. There were some people who bought stock accounts for the first time, because of Robinhood, Coinbase. There were people gambling their money in cryptocurrency, some of which who got in early managed to make money, and some got rich, very few, because I don't know anybody who actually got rich personally off of crypto. But the reality is, people were trapped at home. Some people were trying to figure out new ways to make money. Some people did. A lot of people didn't. And now we're in a situation where the inflation is so high that now everybody's suffering for the money that was printed during the COVID quarantine in order to keep us from killing each other over a loaf of bread. So let me just go through the story. Kathleen LaRose loves being a doctor, but she doesn't love the nearly $1 million in student loan debt that came along with it. After graduating from SUNY Stony Brook in 1987, LaRose knew she wanted to go into medicine and specialize in feet and ankles. Now keep in mind, she graduated SUNY Stony Brook in 1987. What I find out is interesting about that is back then, school was damn near free. When you're talking about before the 90s, school was basically damn near free. So she should have at least gotten her bachelor's degree, and it shouldn't have cost her much of anything. Back then, the only thing she really would have had to pay was the student fees. Taking out student loans was the only way for her to do it. So she borrowed $277,000 in federal loans to obtain her degree in Doctor of Podiatric Medicine, and enrolled in an income-contingent repayment plan, which was the first version of an income-driven student loan repayment plan that gives borrowers affordable monthly payments based on the income they earn, with the promise of loan forgiveness after 25 years. As far as I know, it's been at least 25 years. So what happened? So anyway, 8 years later, LaRose has $895,512 in student loan debt. Insider viewed documents to verify these amounts because it's hard to believe that this is possible. If she really worked for this long, and they said that, listen, because what they do with these, see, what a lot of people don't understand is with these loan forgiveness programs, a lot of times what they do is like, let's say you're a teacher. If you want loan forgiveness for being a teacher, usually you have to be in a high needs subject like math or science or Spanish or something like that. TESOL, teaching English to a second language. If you go into a shitty neighborhood, like if you go to the Bronx or Brooklyn or something, a high needs school, they usually offer you scholarships of some type. Like they'll offer you a $5,000 grant, a $2,500 grant, or they promise to pay off your loans after 5 years. So that's usually what happens. Now, with a doctor or a lawyer, usually with a lawyer, you have to work pro bono, and they will pay your degree costs by sending you money, and then you apply the money to the loan. Especially if you're a doctor. If you work in a shitty neighborhood, like let's say you go to Jamaica Hospital in Queens or Queens General, yeah, they'll pay your loans after a certain amount of time of working. It says, I thought I'm going to be working with a doctorate in this country, so I'll make a lot of money and be able to pay this, LaRose, now 55, told Insider. But I never ended up making a ton of money, and I've maintained the monthly income contingent payments, and they've never been in arrears. But they were just wildly out of control now. Now, I'll say this. $277,000 and you're a doctor. I don't know if it's going to tell us how much she makes per month. But the reality is, I think her real mistake was going into this payment plan. I think what she should have done was she should have paid it herself. But I don't know how much money she was making a month because it hasn't said so yet. So this is the woman right here. She looks like you could trust her. I don't know. But then again, if her money's all fucked up, maybe you can't trust her. But I don't know what she could do with my feet. But I don't know. But, you know, her she's obviously not that good at balancing the books. So anyway, periods of deferment and forbearance are largely to thank for LaRose's debt balance that is over 3 times the original amount she borrowed. While she was in her doctoral residency program, her loans were placed on in-school deferment, which allows a borrower to postpone their loan payments while in school. However, since her student loans were unsubsidized, that's where it's fucked up. See, had she had Fed loan and subsidized student loans, not those private unsubsidized loans, she wouldn't have gotten hit this hard. But then again, to tell you the God's honest truth, first of all, this woman is what? 15 years older than me, right? And a lot of people, rich or not, a lot of people don't understand finances that well. And even if they make the money, there's a lot of people who don't understand finances, strangely enough. And, unless she learned it somewhere in between 2008 and now, she basically waited too long. But I think her big mistake was she got unsubsidized loans and she didn't work hard enough to pay them back. So anyway, however, since her student loans were unsubsidized, interest continued to accrue during that time and capitalized, meaning it added onto her principal balance, causing her debt to grow. On top of that, LaRose's forgiveness timeline on her income contingent repayment plan got pushed back following transfers of her debt to new student loan companies. President Joe Biden's education department has taken steps to help borrowers like LaRose by proposing limits to interest capitalization. And it's planning to introduce a new income-driven repayment plan in the coming weeks. But that doesn't solve the decades of financial challenges LaRose's huge debt has brought. Biden's reported plan to forgive $10,000 in student loan debt for borrowers making less, you didn't even check your goddamn spell check, making less than $150,000 would only be a drop in the bucket for her. Of course, this is my complaint. There's no reason to forgive $10,000. There's no reason at all. Now, if there are students out there who finished school and are working and they only had up to $10,000 worth of student loans, even then I really wouldn't want to forgive it because all they're going to do is they're going to go out and they're going to spend more money somewhere else. But the thing about it is this government is thriving on welfare. I had an argument this morning about whether or not America is a socialist country or capitalist. Y'all can lie to yourselves all you want. America's a socialist country. It may pretend to be capitalist, but I could give you 100 examples. First of all, when you've got a Congress where you can have a Speaker of the House who openly insider trades and then openly flies to a country basically risking hostile, it could have been World War III, and does this under the auspices of dumping her stock, you just might be in a socialist republic or an oligarchy. When you've got corporations that capitalize their gains but subsidize the losses, and that goes back to the taxpayer, you just might be in a socialist country. When you have a welfare state that's printing out welfare money and people are taking that money and gambling that shit on fucking Bitcoin and Ethereum, you just might be in a socialist country. See, the issue is socialism, for the most part, is when the government is manipulating the market. The government, I have never imagined when I was a kid, I never imagined I would see this much manipulation of the market by this government. I never imagined it. And then we had an argument about, Tesla, trying to say Tesla. It's sad because people really try to make it sound like Elon Musk did everything he did because he's a fucking genius. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. This guy was in the PayPal mafia. His family financed enough for him with their emerald mine in South Africa, which you're hearing about every now and then about these South Africans killing off these fucking farmers, these white Afrikaner farmers, and taking what was theirs back because these people moved into South Africa with apartheid, pushed these motherfuckers to the sides like, yeah, get out of here, Kafir. That's what they call them because I saw Lethal Weapon 2. And y'all are trying to make it sound like this guy did all this by himself. First of all, Elon Musk is the face of corporate welfare. Face of corporate welfare. SpaceX, you know what they did? They basically defunded NASA so that they could put their money into SpaceX and Tesla. There's nothing that Tesla or SpaceX does that NASA couldn't have done. If NASA really wanted to, NASA could have been given money by the government to build fucking futuristic cars. NASA could have built better Model X's than Tesla builds. Thing about it is they capitalize the gains and they socialize the losses. But y'all keep fooling yourself. Y'all want to keep believing you live in a fucking capitalism? Well, I'll tell you what, the next time the banks are about to fail and they pass these gigantic bailouts and whatnot, yeah, you argue with me then, okay? Too big to fail. Too big to fail tells you it ain't capitalist, right? The mere fact that you can have the government pull the wool over the American people's eyes by giving out these loans and deciding which banks are going to live and which banks are going to die, that ain't no fucking capitalism. Who you kidding? You know what real capitalism looks like? Real capitalism is like when we go to the store and we buy food. The food that we don't like sits right there on the shelf, and the food we like, we buy, and then other developers of food, they look and they say, hey, you know what? These people buy this right here, but they don't buy this over here. You know what we're going to do? We're going to cancel this shit and we're going to make more of this over here because these people have shown that the free market says that they like this, but not that. You know what real capitalism looks like? Real capitalism is when you go to the movie theater and movies that suck, movies that are woke, you know how they say go woke, go broke? Movies that they put out, like, I think it was Batgirl. They made Batgirl like a Mexican-American or some shit. Batgirl, they said, oh, you know what? We're going to cancel Batgirl. Meanwhile, they put a Native American girl fighting the goddamn Predator. The Predator has lost every fucking match. He lost to the Governor. He lost to Officer Danny Glover. He lost to the aliens. He blew himself up in the next movie. Then he lost to that loser, the pianist. What was that fucking guy's name? The pianist that sniveling, crying, what was his name? Adrian Brody or some shit? Lost to the pianist. Then after that, he lost again to the Super Predator. And then the Super Predator lost to another guy. And now he's fighting Native Americans. He's fighting Pocahontas. The Predator went up against Pocahontas and he got himself killed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, every time I see one of these goddamn movies, the Predator keeps getting himself killed. What is this? But that's just what it is. Now, that movie may be very woke, but it was a really good movie. And now, by word of mouth, everybody say, oh, yeah, this movie was great. This movie was great. Man, y'all should have put this in the theater. We would have seen it. Sad thing about it is when they put it in the theater, it would have taken time for word of mouth to get people to want to go see it, and then you would have had to have people go see it. But the thing about it is word of mouth is spreading the news, and people are going to watch. That's what real capitalism looks like. You have an opportunity to make a better product, and if you make a better product and it succeeds, it succeeds. But if you make an inferior product, it fails. That's capitalism. Y'all can keep fooling yourself, but this ain't capitalism. This is fucking socialism. The mere fact that the government right now is talking about handing out $10,000 out of the $40,000 that you owe, yeah, y'all keep fooling yourself. Y'all keep fooling yourself. Yeah, keep fooling yourself. Yeah, right. It's capitalism, right? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, sure. Okay. So it says, I really value education. I think it's important that we give people the opportunity to be educated. But this is a really bad system, LaRose said. Think about the economic problem that this has caused our country. I would never have taken out those loans. Currently, LaRose earns 5 figures. I get more money than she does, running a North Carolina private practice. Now, I just want you to think about that. I make more money than this doctor does. I make more money than the doctor does. And I have utmost respect for doctors. I absolutely do. But I make more money than this doctor. She's making 5 figures. 5 figures to pay off damn near $1 million worth of student loans. That's brilliant. That's crazy. She said that while she loves being a doctor, she's not making the money she thought she would be making because she does not have a high volume of clients. She wishes she financed her degree differently. Yeah, maybe the reason why you don't have a high volume of clients is because you're in North Carolina. You know, if you were in New York or you were in California or even probably Florida, I think you'd be doing a lot better. Maybe it's time to move. That's what capitalism looks like. If my work isn't making enough money in region A, I can move to region B and make more money. That's what real capitalism looks like. So anyway, in retrospect, I never would have taken out those loans, LaRose said. It's a great job, it's a rewarding job, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else. But I would have found another way. Even coming from a family with very moderate income, I would have figured it out. LaRose has not been making payments on her student loans for the past 2 years. Yeah, that'll help. Thanks to the pandemic pause on payments. Now, let me also talk about this. I was actively telling people, listen, if you've got student loans, do not stop paying at least the interest. Not only should you pay the interest every single month, but you should also try to make a smaller amount of payment towards the principal. The issue with most of these people is they think that deferred means I ain't got to pay nothing. They think they don't have to pay principal. They think they don't have to pay interest. All you're doing is you're allowing that principal to sit there, accruing more and more interest, and eventually the interest is what chokes you. I believe it was Albert Einstein who said compound interest is the most powerful force in the world. I think he said those who know about it benefit from it, but those who don't pay it or something like that. I honestly don't remember the quote. I can always look it up. Okay, so anyway, her debt balance is split into 2 separate loans, one totaling $27,491 and the other $868,021. And if all goes to plan, her estimated payoff date on the larger balance is in April 2023. According to documents reviewed by Insider, her smaller balance has an estimated payoff date of January 2043. If LaRose succeeds in getting the vast majority of her balance paid off through income-driven repayment next year, she will join the very select few in the country who have accomplished the same feat. I'm one of them! I paid off mine. I didn't even use an income-driven repayment system. I paid my shit off by getting 3 jobs and taking like pretty much all of the money from the second 2 jobs and focusing it on those debts. And the way I paid it, I focused on the highest interest debt first, and I targeted that one, and then I went after low interest debt, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, a report from the Government Accountability Office in May found that as of June 2021, the Education Department has approved just 157 borrowers for full forgiveness under income-driven repayment plans. And prior to that report, that number stood at 32 borrowers total. That's out of 4.4 million who have been in 4.4 million. 157 out of 4.4 million who have been in repayment for 20 years or longer, 20 years or longer. Think about that. Out of 157 borrowers out of 4.4 million, and these people have been in repayment for 20 years or longer. Wow. Given that the repayment plan LaRose is on has worked out for so few people, she's not banking on that payoff date next year. I don't think it's going to happen either, LaRose, especially since she was promised forgiveness after 25 years, and that still hasn't happened. I'd hate to see the cycle repeated. Well, LaRose, it's going to be repeated. It's being repeated right now. LaRose is not the only student loan borrower who is struggling under student loan debt while employed in what's supposed to be a high-paying profession. Insider previously spoke to Steve Pederzani, a licensed attorney with $347,000. He's struggling to pay off due to a difficult job market. You're a licensed attorney. Why are you having this much trouble? We're not doing okay, Pederzani said. Whoever told you that lawyers have instant tickets to the middle class, that maybe existed 10 or 20 years ago, but that doesn't exist anymore. First of all, let me say it like this. When I was a kid, and I was born in the 80s, I was born in 80, I always was told doctors and lawyers were rich. Most millennials my age, I'm pretty sure they would say the same thing. There were a couple of professions that I always assumed these people were rich. Doctors, lawyers, pilots, judges, and basically anybody who I saw on television. I automatically assumed all these people were filthy rich. We were told, oh yeah, you got to get good grades and everything. You can go to school, you go to law school, you go to doctor school, you get a doctor. My dentist, lovely woman, she has over $300,000 in student loans. Now, my first and my second house had mortgages less than $300,000. She paid more to go to dental school than I paid for either of my 2 houses. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Now, I would have also assumed, again, this income-driven repayment plan to me sounds crazy because I always assumed that what they did was if you're a doctor and you had these crazy loans, I always assumed that they offered you an opportunity to go into a shitty neighborhood and be a doctor in a shitty neighborhood, and that would help you to repay your loans quicker, or they would do cancellations. They still do that with lawyers. If you're a criminal defense attorney, I have a family member specifically. She got her law degree. She did that pro bono. They sent her the money to pay off her loan, and she paid off her student loans. I'm so thankful that in my family, student loans aren't a problem, because I know so many people with student loans are a problem, and I'm not one of them. So in any event, Republican lawmakers have frequently criticized the idea of broad student loan forgiveness because it would go supposed high earners like doctors and lawyers, but for some, that high income might never come, allowing interest to accrue and balances to grow. Biden's education department is planning to announce a new income-driven repayment plan in the coming weeks that will make student loans much, much more affordable. Yeah, okay, sure. Just like y'all did with the STEMI checks, right? And in July, the department released a proposal to prevent interest from spiraling on student loans, adding on to a borrower's principal balance. But for decades, LaRose said she'd been crumbling under her student debt, and while the upcoming reforms likely won't help her, she hopes a better system will be in place for her two kids. Well, Miss LaRose, the answer is no, it won't be. Just take that from me. The answer is no, it won't be. Your children are going to be debt slaves in the future. Just think of your kids' assholes as cash registers because this system demands it. Okay, so anyway, I was so young when I took out these loans, LaRose said, but at least I've been able to be a better counsel to my children with their debt. I'd hate to see this cycle repeated for them. Here's a question, Miss LaRose, because the story didn't tell this. Where's your husband? What does your husband do? I'm interested because you got two kids. What does your husband do? Is your husband a high value man? Now, this right here is capitalism. Now, I want you to notice Dr. Pimple Popper. I don't know how many of you watch her, but I love this woman. I love her show. Dr. Sandra Lee is called Dr. Pimple Popper. Regardless what this woman makes as a dermatologist, or I think she's a dermatologist, regardless what this woman makes as a dermatologist, this woman has a YouTube channel. Well, let's see it. Let's see her YouTube channel. This woman, let's see, Dr. Pimple Popper. Yes, this woman right here, Dr. Lee. This woman, what does she have? Because she's on TLC. I don't know. This woman, I don't know if she has her own channel, but for every video this woman makes, she's got like 1 million views on it. And her YouTube must be popping. And because she's getting paid. She's getting paid from either TLC or YouTube or both. Now, think about that. She's a dermatologist coming on making videos of her cutting fucking pimples open and getting millions of views, dollars from it, because you're getting the subscribers, you're getting the money. Now, here's a question, Dr. LaRose. Why don't you do some shit like this with the feet? Like, why don't you, like, there is a person, it's called My Feet Are Killing Me. My feet are, at TLC, these people are shameless. These motherfuckers will show you anything. Look at this shit. You got some person here with fucking cottage cheese and American cheese growing on his fucking feet. And this guy's got 6.9 million views, so you know he's making that money. This lady right here, look at these people. These people got they got horns growing out their feet. Look at this shit. Look at this lady right here. These people got this black doctor, this black female doctor, she got like damn near 1 million views. This guy right here has got these, this is some shit from like Doom 3. And this guy's got these feet and he's got big ass holes and shit. These people are making money on YouTube and all they're doing is basically practicing, quote unquote, practicing their medicine on people who've got all kinds of shit growing on their goddamn feet. Look at this. So here's a question, Dr. LaRose. Look, oh my God, look at this shit. Look at these bunions. God damn, she probably wears them purple shoes to church and those things hurt like hell. Oh my God, that's some alien shit. Look at this. Look at this. These people got fucking cheesecake growing on their feet. Look. Yo, 4.4 million views, 730. Man, this shit makes me wish I could cut people open and video record it. And then you got Shauna Ray right here. Shauna Ray right here has a brain tumor or something that makes it so that she looks like she's 12 and she's really like 25 or something like that. And she doesn't like white guys because she says that, they are like pervs. So she decides to go out on a date with this black dude right here. So she's looking for that BBC. So she's definitely 25 and she's looking for the BBC. See, TLC, these guys have they got no chill whatsoever. You got Shauna Ray right there. Look at these feet. Look at this shit. This right here. Jesus Christ. Like, it's like you why? Oh my, what the fuck? They got myiasis, these grubs live. What the fuck? Look at this guy. And then these women up here stealing wigs and shit. So my point is, Dr. LaRose, you should be what the fuck? Toenail funk. What? What is this? Lymphedema. What? Oh my God. Now, these are podiatrists. Why isn't Dr. LaRose on YouTube? If I was Dr. LaRose, I would ask all my patients, I'd be like, listen, I'm going to do this operation, but you know what? I want to record it because I can use it to train other doctors. And then I put these videos on YouTube, and all they got to do is sign on the dotted line. Next thing you know, you're making big money. You have like fucking 10 million subscribers. Look at this shit. God damn. God damn. Look at this. Look at these people's toes. Jesus Christ, you don't see these feet on OnlyFans. What the hell is this? Oh, yeah, I felt bad for this one right here. She had a broken ankle for 10 years, and they didn't put it back in right. And this chick had to re-break her foot, and then they had to hammer like a nail through her foot or something. I saw, oh, my God. Jesus Christ. Whoa. Lymphedema. This is some scary shit. That's some scary shit. Jesus Christ. Look at these. Oh my God. Look at these. Oh my God. You gotta soak her feet in like vinegar or something. Oh my God. Like, how do these people let this shit happen like this? I don't understand that. So the point is, there's no reason why this woman, Dr. LaRose, there's no reason why Dr. LaRose, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, because this video might get emailed to you, Dr. LaRose, I got respect for you. As a doctor, I have nothing but respect for you, but there's no reason why you should not be YouTubing people while you're cutting them up. I'd be doing everything. I'd show you how to hammer nails into people's feet and shit to reset their toes. I'd do everything. Like, there's no reason why you can't be a YouTuber. As far as I'm concerned, the reason why some of y'all can't pay your loans is because y'all not willing to hustle. That's the issue. There's no reason why I'm making more money than you. You are a podiatrist. You are supposed to be making more money than me easily in your sleep. There is no reason why not only did I pay off my student loans back in 2015, there's no reason why you're supposed to be making less money than me. I'm a black 41-year-old from New York City working on Wall Street, trading stocks and dividends and all that. There's no reason why you're making a 5-figure salary and I'm making 6. There's no reason for that. You are supposed to be hustling. And if you're not hustling, you're doing something wrong. And that's the reality. I don't know what kind of car you drive, but I'm about to buy a fucking brand new Cadillac that plugs into the side of my house. And you're just making 5 figures? Nah, listen, there's something wrong. And I YouTube everything. You've got all these people walking in and out, and you're not YouTubing these people like Dr. Pimple Popper? What are you doing? Dr. LaRose, what are you doing? You graduated before I went to high school. Like I went to high school in like freaking 1996. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? So, I'm sorry, Dr. LaRose, you got to hustle because you're doing something wrong down there. Fuck North Carolina. I think it's time for you to bring your show to like New York or California or something. Unless North Carolina wants to pay you a surcharge or something. Nah, there's something wrong with that. There's something seriously wrong with that. So that's the story right there. Like, I'm having so much enjoyment on YouTube just talking about these student loans because I tell you, man, it's crazy. And it's only going to get worse. There is no way for this government to discharge almost $2 trillion worth of student loans. And even if they did, the next generation would just rebuild those loans again because Generation Z is going to be deep in debt. The generation that comes after Generation Z is called Generation Alpha, from what I've heard. They're going to be deep in debt. Millennials, my age, my generation, I've already told you, I've ranted about us. A lot of us are deep in debt. I don't even know what to say because I know. See, the thing about it is I'm a pessimist. I already know based on the numbers, this ain't going to get better. This is only going to get worse. And the reality is, whether it gets worse or better, it's something that repeats itself simply because each new generation comes and they're looking for loans to go to school too. So this is not something that you can just sweep under the rug. This doesn't go away. But I don't know. Like somebody asked me, how much do I charge for consultation? I didn't even know how to answer that question because I wasn't sure consultation for what. There's certain levels of information that I give away for free. I'm thankful just to have people listening to me explain shit. And money, I make enough money where on certain levels I don't even care. So certain things, I'm just giving away information. I'm not like one of these fake ass fucking gurus who's trying to get you to join a channel or some shit. I ain't got time for that. Because if you join a channel with a membership, that means that now I'm on the hook to make more and more and more content. But some people got time for that. Me personally, it's like I'm too busy enjoying my ceiling fan. If you understand what I'm saying. If I want to relax, if I want to do nothing, YouTube for me is a hobby. It's not a job. It's extra money every single month, but it's a hobby, not a job. So, certain things I don't mind explaining for free. It's only like if I got to start looking at documents and shit, that's when I'm charging money. And even then, it's like, I don't even try to hit people over the head for fees or nothing like that. But certain things I can give consultation for, but I have to decide how I want to do that. Because, see, I have a sibling who does consultation, but she has an LLC for that. And then you get on to all these legal issues because the last thing I want is for somebody to be like, hey, I gave you my money, sir. Where's my money, sir? You said you supposed to help me. I gave you money and you didn't help me. You were supposed to help me, sir. The last thing I want is somebody trying to come at me like that and be like, oh, yeah, well, I paid you to do a job and you didn't do it. I don't want to hear that. Like, where's my money, sir? Sir, where's my money? I gave you $100, sir. Where's my money, sir? You told me you were going to help me out of the situation, but you didn't do anything, sir. I don't need that kind of fucking headache. Believe me, I don't need that kind of headache. So it's like I don't mind answering questions in the comments and stuff. Certain things I can answer right away. I don't even care. I do it for free. But that's just me. Because first of all, these videos don't even get the views that I feel that they should be getting. If I was fucking Stephen Graham, every single video, YouTube would be hyping that shit. And I could tell you to go buy Dogecoin right now and I'd get fucking 100,000 views or 200,000 views. But meanwhile, when I'm actually talking about something serious and important, no, you don't see many views. And again, YouTube's a hobby for me. Let me explain something to you. When I talk about hustling, it's just like when you see me going on these fucking vacations, I'm going business trip, I'm drinking champagne the whole way. I'm writing all of that off. When you know how to have a good CPA and you use YouTube for tax deferments and you're a 1099 quote unquote writer, because that's what you become. You become a self-employed journalist. And you're writing off your business class trips, you're going overseas, you're doing reviews on Maldives and all that shit. All that shit is business. That's hustling, baby. You need to hustle this YouTube. I ain't never heard of this woman before, but there's no reason why this lady right here should not be on YouTube chopping up people's feet and whatever it is. You could be putting peg legs on people and you get a view. You'd get 10 million views for putting somebody on a peg leg. Oh, or just like the Blade Runner, the guy who shot his wife. It's like if you showed how you amputate people's feet and put them on fucking springs and shit and blades, like in that game Half-Life, you'd get billions of views. What are you doing? You should be hustling, honey. You should be hustling. If I was you, I'd be hustling the hell out of YouTube. Every single customer, I'd have somebody in there. I'd be like, and today is how we remove foot fungus. Oh, and today is how you do a manicure. And today is how you do a pedicure. And today is how you, I don't know, chop horns off people's feet or some shit. I'd be hustling the shit out of my YouTube. What are you doing? Dr. Pimple Popper is cutting open acne and getting millions of dollars. What are you doing? I don't get it. Nope, but listen, honey, listen, that North Carolina shit ain't working. What you need to do, honey, is you need to hustle. There's no way you got 2 kids and you make less money than me and you're a doctor. That don't make sense. That don't make no fucking sense. You gotta hustle, honey. You gotta hustle, baby. You gotta hustle. 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 Hard. Closed mouths don't